district of Nepal. As our president, Dr. Joshi, said, brain drain has been a harsh reality across the world, even though the term was coined in Britain actually around 1950, when the doctors and other professionals started moving to the United States. They were scared and they coined this term brain drain. Even though I do not buy the literal meaning of brain drain, because I do not believe brain ever drains. It's not a zero-sum game. But definitely there are repercussions, and there are ways to, creative ways to address this. Let me begin. So it's a slang term. As I said, it was coined in Great Britain. And what happened there is it impacted negatively several factors, including the political turmoil or the existence of more favorable professional opportunities elsewhere. So this is happening around the world. It's a scary time, definitely. So the countries, industries, and organizations sometimes suffer, and they lose a core portion of valuable individuals. And to address the challenge, another easy term is brain gain, another slang term probably. But for us, for me, what I have been able to accomplish by working with our Nepali colleagues and Nepali diaspora professionals here in the United States. So this is going to be my story. It's going to be one story out of maybe hundreds of thousands of stories out there. But there is a confusion around the idea of brain gain. So I just wanted to make a disclaimer what it is not. Some people think it's a database, even though different professional organizations do make database. For example, medical professionals have their professional database. Agriculture professionals have their database, and some other associations also are building databases. So building database is not brain gain. It's not a census either. This is a failed example of a country called Kosovo, because they were too aggressive about making it a numbers game. So they started a registry of their diaspora professionals, about a quarter to 1 million people registered, but the results were paltry because they were not creating the environment to engage their diaspora in their local community. And it is not just about opening doors either. In Nepal also, Prime Minister Baburam Bhattarai had started a program called Harka Pharka Vaigyanik, scientists please return home. So he opened the door, but I think the applications were very few, and the program was a great step, probably a great vision, but didn't bear much fruit, as I understand. So my story begins from Midwestern University. I was very deeply involved towards the establishment of this university. So as the university got established, I got a Fulbright scholarship to come to United States to learn how universities are run efficiently. So I came to University of Pittsburgh, enrolled in a second master's degree in higher education management. When I came here, I came with lots of questions. So from day one, I had questions because the university had just established in my hometown, and many of my colleagues who had done a lot of hard work towards establishing the university didn't have an idea of running a university efficiently, far from making it a world-class university. Everybody had high dreams, but they had all the questions like, what is your strategic plan? Who are the stakeholders? What should be the vision, mission, goals, and objectives of this university? How do we develop leadership here? How do we develop curriculum here? Can we add an international dimension to our university? Nobody in the world knows us. These kinds of questions. So I brought these questions during the discussions with my professors. So what happened, because of the questions that I got from back home, my professors opened access for me to attend high-level meetings of universities. They asked me to interview the vice presidents, the directors, sometimes even president's cabinet, and sometimes took me to the state capitals where we could understand how the state and the public university collaborate, cooperate, how the resources are requested, how the tax dollars given by the public is justified. So those are some of the great questions that I could learn as I passed along that information back home. And because that was not enough, I also started finding fundings and also sending some of my colleagues here as experts to help them develop curriculum, develop leadership, help them in the strategic plan, et cetera, et cetera. So interestingly, the leadership kept changing back at Midwestern University, but the collaboration continued. Whoever came as the leader worked with me. And some of them came to United States to visit the universities. And I was very happy to take around, crisscrossing the country here, multiple universities and multiple meetings, and some memorandum of understanding and some joint projects started. So this university did very well. And the most pleasant part was that other Nepali professionals, diaspora Nepali professionals, the professors, the scientists, showed enthusiasm to contribute to homeland, the home connection. So connection is a really key word here. First, I did my second master's degree in the city of Pittsburgh, and they called it a city of connection. It was famous for steel, and the football team is called Steelers, and they had more bridges than necessary, as they say. They just wanted to show off their steel to the world. It is at the confluence of 3 rivers. So it was a beautiful city, but a lot of story to tell. So I will move on. And the things that we started doing for Midwestern University gained much hype to some extent. So other universities also got interested to work with us. So we signed an MOU with the Truan University. We launched a quality enhancement initiative, and Nepal Open University also collaborated with us with Star Scholars Network. So they're actually hosting our next conference in Kathmandu. So in doing these kind of collaboration, my observation, this is the result of my observation. I did a lot of research on it, but this is how it goes. So when the Nepali diaspora professionals go to work in Nepal during summer vacations, they are not much appreciated, but their work effectiveness is high. But when a foreign national goes, there is high appreciation, but low effectiveness. But when Nepali nationals in Nepal actually initiate the programs, there is high appreciation and high effectiveness. So this means that the Nepali nationals who are in Nepal actually are best positioned to do the real reform in Nepal's higher education, while Nepali diaspora and foreign nationals can be very critically important in passing along the information and sharing the experiences. It's definitely two-way, it's not one way. This is what I found. And I started assembling colleagues because I was enthused so much that we were doing little things, as I said, but the colleagues back home were very, very excited, very happy, and a lot of satisfaction. And they even asked me to stay put in the United States. When I completed my master's degree from the Fulbright program in Pittsburgh, I was packing up. But my friend said, if you can stay there, it is good for us. You have been sharing a lot of information, you are finding resources, we can come visit. And you know, that was interesting, honor. And I also got offered a PhD at University of Florida. That's where I started my PhD again. So, you know, as a side job, started assembling colleagues who wanted to give back. And that was later confirmed by research. There was a World Bank research in the MENA region. It said 87% of diaspora want to give back to their country, but they don't know where to turn to. So that was something that clicked. And then we started thinking about how to make that mechanism. So a lot of colleagues jumped in when the delegation of Midwestern University came to visit us. And the level of enthusiasm was so high, we actually created a platform of scholars and researchers who wanted to move the world in the human direction. So this is what it is, Star Scholars Network. Scholars from around the world. But as you can see, there are quite a few Dhaka topi wearing people in probably every row. So what we started is, let's keep the subset of these Nepali people and make a network that is now willing to give back to Nepal. And let's create that mechanism so anyone looking for that kind of expertise will easily find them. So that was the idea. So I found a prototype from my study of entrepreneurship at University of Florida. I did a PhD in higher education administration and policy, and also minor doctorate in entrepreneurship. So during that time, I had come across some very interesting prototypes of building community and creating connection. So that I utilize, and then we tried to find a way to pitch the idea to the government officials. And Dr. Shyam Sharma was very helpful during this time. And we brought this idea to the government of Nepal. And the idea behind this emergence, again, can be summarized in 3 terms. So it's an organic network of diaspora individuals that we worked through our scholarly publications, the journal, and conferences, etc. And then the research behind it, beginning from Nepal Brain Drain and Higher Education Study. It was a worldwide online survey. And I see across the screen, many of you have responded to this survey, so I must thank you. And the presentations followed by that, including a San Francisco Knowledge Conference and a Toronto conference in 2018 of the Nepali professionals. So the research boiled down to 2 things. One was definitely a lot of complaint, scary scenario of brain drain, and skills gap in the young men and women that are currently in Nepal. And those are actually seeking jobs elsewhere, but because of the lack of skills, they ended up doing very menial jobs, and oftentimes they have to work under very scary conditions, and many tragic stories of 3 to 4 coffins returning to Nepal every day. was a very scary scenario. So we thought about how to address that. And the inspiration again is the book that I wrote on community college. I proposed, if I can show, maybe because of that background, it doesn't show. It's Global Adaptations of Community College Infrastructure. So I wrote this and I share the idea of American community college because I saw that in this country, young people are not burning tires on the streets. So where are they going? So I found that about 40% of high school graduates went to community colleges. So that was a big enlightenment for me. And I also got an opportunity at the Institute of Higher Education at the University of Florida to lead a national think tank on community colleges. So I became an advocate of the idea of community college because I found that, ironically, very, very talented, hyper-talented people from the developing countries came to the United States. And they went to highly prestigious universities like Harvard, Yale, and MIT. And when they returned back home, they became the policymakers for their home country, but they didn't hear about community college. And they didn't even hear about minority serving institutions, historically Black universities. So they were unaware. And so what they tried is they tried to create another Harvard, MIT, Yale in the developing countries, and those ideas just flatly failed. And who suffered is the young men and women. So I became an advocate. And I'm very, very fortunate person because I got this opportunity to lead some executive dialogues with the leaders of developing countries coming to the United States to learn about the higher education system. So this is a system, this is a group of leaders from Egypt, and this is a group of leaders from Pakistan. So what they are doing, how they are charting out their national strategies to engage their young people in community. I could have a discussion, I could listen to them, and I could also tell them what not to learn from this country and what are some of the good things. For example, community college, apprenticeship system, industry, academia, connection. So it's not just the quality education, but also the alignment of education with the community, with the need of community, with the development of entrepreneurship. So those are some of the ideas that I was able to share. And I'm very proud to maintain connections with these individuals who share with me the success stories every day. Pakistan's Punjab province has now started a Ustad Shagird program. That's a mentor-mentee program. They transfer the skills from one generation to another, and they validate those skills, and they are making more money than government officials and professors. This is very interesting. So again, I think I just reiterated that. So those are the two ideas that came about, skills gap and brain drain. So for skills gap, I proposed a system of community colleges for Nepal as well as for other countries, and then advocated the establishment of Brain Gain Center for Nepal, because too many people have left country and they had no way to give back. I thought that the existing communication technology can be humanized. A government can take a step towards creating a mechanism that makes these people available so they can share the ideas and inspire their brothers and sisters back home. So that's what we started doing. Again, if I can move. yes, the survey was followed by my visit to Nepal. Actually, in 2016, I had the focus group with students and policymakers, and I did interviews with former chancellors of universities, current chancellors of universities, and other higher education leaders who provided technical skills, vocational technical skills. Honorable Ramhari Lamichaniji, I think he is joining us today, and people who provided agriculture training. Nepal's agriculture ministry has a directorate designated to provide agriculture training, and this is the guy on the right. I interviewed him, and the person back then, Dr. Tirtharaj Khania, was the chancellor of Tribhuvan University. So I also interviewed the chair of University Grants Commission and many other governmental and non-governmental agency heads and representatives. So that was very enlightening. So it was not easy. It takes a village. I traveled there with a team of a multinational team. They were trying to develop the tourism entrepreneurship in western part of Nepal. And I had the blessing of many senior people and some friends who connected me with other people and helped me set the time for interview. So these connections, I again want to say thank you. And research, I presented in multiple national and international conferences and learned a lot. I presented half-baked ideas and got feedback. And I'm really grateful to my professors and everybody that attended my conference presentations. But the highest level of satisfaction was when I presented the idea at San Francisco NRNA Knowledge Convention, which was attended by the government officials of Nepal. And they really loved the idea. But again, the idea of zero-sum game here, a lot of people are only thinking about brain drain, but there are some very interesting perspectives. So one perspective here that was published in 2016 shows when the skilled workers leave country, the net effect actually is higher back home because the country will produce more of those people. So interestingly, that was verified by a Nepali researcher in Pokhara. What happened is in Gandaki region, a lot of young people want to be British soldiers. And the requirement for them was to pass 10th grade. So because of that motivation, a higher number of people from those communities would be motivated to appear in the 10th grade examination thanks to that recruitment system. So a lot of them left the country, but even more passed 10th grade. So this research continued, the survey, interviews, the transcription, the analysis, publications, presentations, and a lot of informal chatting. Here are some highlights. In 2011, in Pittsburgh, I presented on higher education system in Nepal, a victim of politicking. I was just, beginning to understand things, the larger picture. And at University of Florida, I did an independent research on a review of Southeast Asia's higher education. Then in 2013, I co-presented with my professor on the relationship between internal rate of return on investment in higher education and proportion of educated population in OECD countries. Then we built on that research, which we presented in Toronto, re-examining the human capital theory, return on investment in higher education in OECD countries. Then in another seminar on international water resources, I presented Silver Lining in the Horizon. I presented the entrepreneurial projects that some Nepali young people started back home, thanks to some of our engagements. And in 2015, another interesting story, re-examining the revisionist approach to brain gain in the context of a post-conflict country in South Asia. That is, again, Nepal. I co-presented it with Professor Jeffrey Layton and Dr. Vista. And in 2015, I got an IRB approved for this particular survey of Nepali diaspora professionals. And in 2016, I visited as a researcher, carried out 24 on-site interviews, total 115. Now my team is involved and this research is ongoing. And finally, pushing the envelope from various ways, and community college and diaspora connection, another presentation I believe I shared with you in San Francisco that was attended by the ministers, ambassadors, and leaders from opposition parties. So that was a big help. And finally, our Star Scholars Network has been commissioned by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to carry out the further possibility of Nepal's brain gain, which is a great honor. And at Morgan State University, we are now working on a survey of global diaspora scholars. We are so enthused that this model, if goes this way and becomes a success in story in Nepal, we want to share this with other developing countries because Star Scholars Network is global. So out of many stories, the most fascinating story of brain gain are from China and from India. So I just wanted to share the story in 1976, when Mao died in 1976, leader emerged in China by the name Deng Xiaoping. So he was a returnee from France. He studied economics in France. But when he came and became involved in the planning of the country, he was suspected and discredited as a foreign agent. But gradually, he emerged as the de facto leader of China. And at that time, China was very problematic. 80 million people were under the poverty line. He had the economic vision. So he opened China to foreign investment and global market. Interestingly, he outmaneuvered his opponents like Hua Guofeng, who hated the so-called outsider because he came from another country. But Deng Xiaoping started incentivizing returnees from United States and other developed countries. Very well-off family, very few people who were away, he started inviting them back home. So he also sent over millions of students to the United States under J visa. Everybody who is a Fulbrighter understands what that means. So with the relationship with the United States, particularly with President Jimmy Carter, he got the trade secrets from the United States, and he started manufacturing. He engaged the 80 million poor people in his country in income generating activities. China became a member of WTO and started emerging as a global power, and everything started to be made in China. This is a very interesting story. So again, this is a story of brain gain. China, Deng Xiaoping set aside specific resources and energy and the warming of heart to invite people back home, and also to send people to learn the trade, come back home and help with the manufacturing and run the engine of economy. And in India, this quiet leader, Manmohan Singh, in 1991, India's economy was paltry. The Gandhi philosophy was too ideal and it didn't have an economic vision. India was too reliant on Russia. But Manmohan Singh started liberalizing the economy. I remember visiting India in early 90s. I happened to carry a Chinese fountain pen on my pocket. And one of my friends in India offered me 100 rupees for that fountain pen. Because in India, it was a nationalized economy. So foreign goods were not allowed to be sold. So I remember some Indian people coming to Nepal for shopping because they would like to buy some of the things that were made in China or elsewhere. Because the charkha system of India, people were, just so much happy about it. And the big step Manmohan did was he brought the professor of economics at University of Chicago by the name of Raghu Rajan, and he invited him to serve as the governor of Indian Reserve Bank. So if you have used Indian currency, you might have seen his signature on the bills, Indian rupee notes. So this way, India's economy actually started running in a pace that was unstoppable. So in 2 decades, India sent Mars mission, and the cost was fraction. It was less than a movie made in that year in the United States. So for United States, it was billions of dollars. It was decades of research. But for India, 24 million. And the same year, NASA sent another mission called MAVEN mission to Mars, and it cost them $671 million. So you understand what's going on. That is brain gain. Because for too many years, Indian smart people came to United States and they didn't have a way to give back to their country. But eventually, when they started sharing the ideas, when the mechanism was created, the marvel happened. And the question is, would what worked for China and India work for Nepal? That was a big, big question. And I knew it was not easy. Some of the things that I did with my friends were amazing, but we wanted to scale it up. How can we do it? And one interesting story, I remember what the Career Center director at University of Florida said once. He was a friend of mine. Now University of Florida have changed their name of Career Center into Career Connection. So again, the idea of connection and the idea of the love of alma mater and the idea of nation. Everybody that comes to University of Florida and graduates from there is called a Gator. So technically I am a Gator. But they say one Gator takes care of another Gator. And how that works. If we have to take care of our brothers and sisters, it is the same feeling of nationality. So that's what the drive for connecting the people of Nepali origin with people who are back home. So the data from World Economic Forum shows that 65% of our students are going to work jobs that have not been invented yet. So we talk about quality education, but we don't know what quality education is. So the solution is connection, even in the developed countries. So we are a developing country. So here we have no way around it other than to connect and learn from people who are several steps ahead in the industry, so they can pass on what the challenges are, what the lessons learned are, where the opportunities lie, and how people can retool themselves to be part of the changing economy, so fast changing economy. So the idea again is, who you know today is more important for success than where you live and what you know. That is why the idea of connection is very powerful. Again, the word cloud of what turned out to be my research highlight. So we just offered this idea, and we're very happy to see that the government of Nepal has now adopted this as Nepal's Brain Gain Center. This is what it looks like in the on the website of the Foreign Ministry of Nepal. It defines Brain Gain Center as a unit at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that is created to recognize and foster contribution to Nepal's social and economic progress by the many diaspora Nepali experts and professionals around the world. So that's how it started. It has some objectives, definitely to recognize, promote, connect, mobilize, and reward. But it's not as easy. It's very difficult. And the difficulty is understandable. It is about understanding what brain gain is. It's first really understanding the soul of the matter. It is not about working hard. It is not about reinventing the wheel. It is about really prioritizing and knowing the reason why. So unfortunately, the Brain Gain Center in Nepal now is experiencing issues. A lot of people that I invited to register are now asking me questions, and I do not have answers because I do not run Brain Gain Center anymore. I did the research, I offered the solution, but I'm not the problem solver, right? That happens from the elected officials, that happens from the government. And there are exciting news. I think about close to 1,000 people have registered, but there have been some glitches. From my part, I have inspired some Brain Gain Center ambassadors in Nepal, like Hari Upadhyay. Hari, if you're there, maybe you can speak later on. Rosha KC, who started the Karnali Talk series. And there are many other initiatives coming out of these connections. So the difference between Brain Gain Center and the Brain Gain Initiative, again, is that Center is just a platform for people who are willing to give back. Again, that is very important. So I can see that the people who are leading Brain Gain Center at this point are wrongly chasing the goal of numbers. So far, so much so that emails are sent to people who are registered asking them to bring more friends. So that is ludicrous. When somebody comes, first thing is to recognize them, engage them, welcome them. So the word of mouth, we create a story and other people start connecting. And another problem is that the Brain Gain Center ambassadors like Hari, Hildesh, and myself, when we talk about it, we want to show how this works, and it does not work. That is the problem. So what should we do? I'm sorry. My suggestion, First of all, do not do anything. Just let it be. Just maintain it. Sometimes we overdo things and overkill things. So if you just maintain the system, let it run, because the ambassadors are working, they are promoting. So what we can do is upgrade it so that the system runs. It's very, very slow, and promote it. So how can we do that? Through government communications, putting a chapter in the textbook so that young people know where their diaspora live, not just how many districts are there in Nepal, who is the prime minister, kind of social studies. Rather, connect them so that we are future-proofing our kids, because we don't know what kind of job they will have to do when they grow up, when they graduate. Therefore, these connections are very, very important. So by using embassies, government gadgets, social media, I think this brain game center should be promoted across Nepal so that the young men and women know where to seek inspiration from. And engage line ministers, definitely, for different projects. But what is now happening is over-controlling, sometimes neglecting, not checking whether it is running or not. And sometimes there are other troublemaking, like inviting trouble, thinking of publishing the blogs and articles and being the arbitrator of who does what, and also asking for sensitive information, and it becomes another Kosovo. Therefore, I had invited some of my colleagues from Brain Game Center and Ministry of Foreign Affairs. If you are hearing, I first want to thank you, because you have been doing amazing. This is a great, great milestone for Nepal, and we are definitely in the right direction. But I just wanted to share what I am experiencing and hearing so that it's fair and it's clear. So these are some of the initial thoughts of what could have been done. Rosha Pokharel, Dr. Rosha Pokharel is one of the initial advisory member. She is data specialist in IBM. She also worked for the Weather Channel, and she said that a couple years ago in Bara, there was an unexpected storm. We lost a lot of life and property that could have been minimized with her skill. And she is working on that project. Dr. Bishish Khanal is working in health biotechnology, environment, artificial intelligence, computational physics, and engineering. And these are some of the ideas that are happening at this point. And this is not a new idea. Again, Dr. Sam Karki, another advisory member, said that NRNA America was leading the Skills Bank project. But the problem with some of these organizations is that the leadership changes too frequently, and the initiatives started are not sustainable. And Dr. Shrestha works at National Health Institute, and he invited a lot of biomedical professionals. So I just copied some of the things that he said in his email as a way to thank him. And there is Brain Gain Initiative. As I said, Center is just a platform, but initiatives are coming out of it in multiple ways. And Honorable Minister Pradeep Kumar Gyawali says that this initiative is a platform for knowledge transformation for the Nepalese diaspora. And they have this website, if I can, let's see if it comes through. So the idea is there should be multiple initiatives, regardless of whether you register at Brain Game Center or not. Brain Game Center is just a platform for the experts to be easily found, but initiatives are focused. This is one, and I am very honored to have been invited in this very high profile initiative also. As you can see, there are some very distinguished people, very accomplished professionals from around the world, and many are in Nepal, including Dr. Joshi is the, I think in higher education, Nepali diaspora is the highest level administrative. Everybody went to highly prestigious universities, including Dr. Swarnim Wagle. He was the past vice chancellor, I think vice president of the planning commission. The chair is prime minister himself. So, and he's, Dr. Shiva Gautam is a Harvard graduate. So there are multiple initiatives coming out of these ideas. So with this, I would like to thank you and maybe open for questions. I really appreciate your patience.
Thank you, Dr. Gauli. This is just an intimate story, if I would say it. Intimate and courageous and also wonderful. So we applaud you for this presentation. Thank you very much. Now we would like to open floor for discussion, as Dr. Gauli mentioned. I can see that some of you have already raised your hands. I have also a lot of questions as a moderator, but I'm going to keep quiet and let you speak. First, maybe I would request Hemantaraj Dahal to unmute yourself and put your question.
Okay, thanks a lot. Oliji, thank you so much for such a detailed and wonderful information, and this has been very insightful. I'm really impressed. My understanding about brain gain, basically, I'm not going to mention brain drain, which is a huge complaint and a kind of, cliche going around in our society. Brain gain has two modalities, I guess. One is to bring back the kind of resources, whether this is human or economic, from our diaspora. Another is to best utilize the brain of the foreign experts in the areas where we are required to develop our expertise. I want to talk a little bit negative side of my understanding. It's very important to connect. Connection is really very important nowadays because this is the era of sharing and caring kind of thing. But sometimes it comes into my mind when our friends go to the overseas for their higher studies, including in the USA, and there are two types of people. One type of people are staying back and working in the USA, which I would like to call the country of destination, because these people belong to the country of origin, that is Nepal. Like you and some of other colleagues, you have been working there. And some, comparatively, I understand nowadays, compared to the past, nowadays very few people are coming back. Very few people with a good brain, outstanding, talented people are coming back. So both kinds of people, what I realize is the kind of quality support to the country. For instance, sometimes I have been in communication with these kinds of colleagues. And I wonder what kind of education the US universities provide to the diaspora Nepalese. Just for an example, I want to give you. Some of the colleagues come back here, they go for higher education. I belong to English language teaching, and most of the colleagues I know who belong to English language teaching. Once they come back, they gave their PhD, they gave their masters in English literature, English language teaching, applied linguistics. Once they come back, or sometimes they visit from the US, they go to particular selected community or ethnic groups and they start advocating how they could better, create some kind of conflict, whether this is ethnic conflict or kind of cultural conflict. And there is some kind of, they create some kind of, problem rather than uniting the people and helping develop the intercultural harmony. So what kind of education they receive from other parts of the world, that's the big question. Some of the people keep writing in the same way once they come back, keep advocating the same thing rather than teaching and researching in their areas of studies. So they are, misleading our, not only the academic community, but also the community in the grassroots. That is one problem I have.
यूनिवर्सिटी के चांसलर से वाइस चांसलर होता अमेरिका से पढ़ के आए नेशनल प्लानिंग कमीशन के वाइस चेयर अमेरिका से पढ़ के आए दुबारा तबे जे सरकार ओकरा के अखन मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फॉरेन अफेयर्स में बना देने छै एकटा सेंटर.
Okay, let me finish. I want to finish. I am about to finish. Sorry, this is my turn. So these are some of the challenges. How the diaspora community can work together. There is a big question whether you people have also, good coordination, good communication, and good collaboration among yourselves. Sometimes these questions are explicitly, seen outside or basically in Nepal. So this is a kind of disillusioning is a big problem. The academic community should develop and unite and maintain peace rather than, create some kind of problem. So it is a kind of psychological infuriating. The word I have created, I don't know whether it is in the dictionary or not. Psychologically infuriating these people in Nepal. How? These people go and they take up higher studies, some people in English, and they come back and they say, don't study English. English is a foreign language. It is rubbish. You have no future. So what are they trying to do? They have developed their career through English, and they are telling poor people not to study English. So at the end of the day, they are trying to keep these poor people being submissive to them. So a kind of very, you see classical kind of, master and servant kind of concept. There are a few examples you gave, and like Mahavir Pun, I appreciate what he has brought into Nepal and he has sacrificed. Some of the very much mispractices of diaspora community and NRA is they would like to influence the political personalities and political parties in order to gain, a kind of undue advantage. I want to give examples of the NRNA people who are the businessmen would like to invest in Nepal. What are they doing? They are investing a little bit money, but with the nexus, their nexus with the political parties and government, they are looting huge amount of money in the name of business. That's why there must be very, very clear, clear policy of the diaspora community. Actually, you are not taking undue advantage from the country like Nepal. Another important point is most of the students from Nepal who go for higher studies in other parts of the world, they conduct their field research in Nepal. And this field research is not contributing to Nepal, but they are taking the knowledge back to their country of destination, and they are utilizing this knowledge to the American government, the British government, a country of destination. Why are these people not conducting very effective, very, let's say, useful research in the country of destination and bringing the knowledge into Nepal so that as a developing countries, we can learn much better from the research findings of other parts of the world. That's why.
Sir, you might need to button it up a bit.
Yeah, I have finished. You have taken example of few people, but so many people go to other parts of the world, right? Only few people have been contributing here. So I request, you have a lot of opportunity to liaise with the Brain Gain Center in Nepal, because our government trust you people. Our government does not trust the people who are living in the country. Any Nepali goes to other parts of the world, and if you see the minister, you can develop a good rapport, much better than myself. That is the tendency. So you have the scope, keep it up, and then take into consideration my experience. I'm not accusing anyone. I've been sharing my experiences. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that, Hemant sir. Being a national leader, a thought leader, you understand a lot, and I do not see anything to respond to that except that I agree with you. And my belief is that people in Nepal are very, very smart. They can see through the ulterior motives of some of the people who want to take, unfair advantage, or who want to peddle divisive narratives, or who want to mislead. I think those kinds of exceptions will always be there, and I think we must be just vigilant. And as I mentioned in one of my early slides, the people who are best positioned to lead the national transformation are the people who are in Nepal on ground, because this connection is only for challenging each other and learning from each other, and enriching each other, definitely. But in no way I am the teller here, I am the knower here. I'm just sharing my humble experience, and I definitely agree with you, Vimal. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Now we have Pedro online. Please unmute
Thank you.
yourself and ask your question.
Thank you. I wanted to go ahead and thank Dr. Gali. You've done an excellent job of kind of threading to a lot of information here and doing a good job of telling the narrative in a very insightful way. And I think it behooves every single one of you in here to be doing this, because what we're experiencing, at least here in the U.S., and I am a natural born U.S. citizen, just to be honest with you all, is our administration has become more nationalistic, more isolationistic. And so because of that, it's going to require a lot of work and effort on behalf of Nepalese people to try to answer their own questions and try to come up with solutions that make sense for their own population. I think it's more critical than ever before, given our current administration, and if it continues going down that way. And so creating the intellectual infrastructure in Nepal and outside of Nepal that is willing to go back and provide that guidance, I think is so critical right now, more so than ever before. And so your collective work is going to be very important for the future economic and social welfare of Nepal itself. And so here's some questions to consider as you kind of go through. And these are not questions that you have to answer right now. They're sort of thought questions or provoking questions for you. And that is, what are some of the reasons that people who leave Nepal stay out of Nepal, right? So what are those, what are sort of the reasons or rationales for they're not wanting to go back, or they're not ending up going back, and what can Nepal as a nation or government do to help incentivize going home, so to speak, right? Another question would be, how does Nepal sell the idea of these institutions, which Dr. Gali is speaking so eloquently about, these community colleges, or what he refers to as polytechnics? How can you sell that idea so that it gains traction and becomes part of the system of higher education becomes a real source of change, social change, political change, and so forth? I think these are things that could be helpful to you as you continue to navigate your own questions and solutions.
Thank you, Professor Villarreal. It's a great honor to have you today. He is the person who taught me the human capital theory and policy at the University of Florida. Really appreciate that. And great questions, definitely the reasons why people want to stay outside. But fortunately, unfortunately, I think the mobility of people is only going to grow. So we have to be very creative because people are always looking for opportunities. Even within Nepal, people are leaving villages to coming to the urban areas. And people are leaving one job from one company to going to another company that is providing better incentives. So people have their choices. But again, the idea now, we are in a world where we are matters a lot. But again, regardless of our geographical location, there are things that we can accomplish. That was the message that I wanted to share, because we have been able to accomplish some of the things from staying away from home by humanizing the technology. If I didn't emphasize that enough, that's my bad. But we have been using the email to Facebook Messenger to, you know, the Viber, Google Drive, sharing materials, and having these kinds of conversations like we have a global conversation around a little platform. So I think the idea, again, is to connect the body with the brain. So when the body and the brain are connected by the spinal cord, as they say, I learned that word from the president of the Association of Nepali Medical Professionals here. So he said, hey, Mr. Goli, you created the spinal cord. Now, when the brain and body connect, it functions. So yeah, I mean, when the best and the brightest leave the country, it's a little gloomy, right? It becomes like soulless or inspirationless. But when they're connected, then the inspiration comes back. So that is the idea. And also it is good for the diaspora professionals that they can connect to their roots, right? That's something they always carry in their heart, the love for their roots. So what can be better than that? So humanizing technology to create connection so that we can enrich each other. It is as simple as that. That's my understanding. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we have I saw his hand raised, but he seems to be not there. Dr. Kafle, if you're there.
Actually, I thought it was
Sorry.
me, Rashmi. I thought you said me after Pedro. Is that okay, or I can?
Oh, Dr. Sigdel, sorry, Dr. Tara Sigdel. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, and thank you Uttamji for the invitation, and thank you Fulbright Alumni Society for organizing this. This is really fantastic, and I'm really very happy to be here and to be part of this discussion. I'll keep it short, try to. I would like to answer Pedro's question, why Nepalese are trying to stay outside, why they don't want. I have a very straight answer to that question. I'm a biochemist. I was a chemist, turned into biochemist. Now I am an immunologist. I work in organ transplant field, do some research. And Pedro, I'll tell you straight, there are more PhDs, PhD degree holders of Nepali outside Nepal right now, almost every field, every subject. So if we go back, we will be all jobless. So that is one, like that, there's no hiding, there's no sugarcoating. It's not, we do not want to go there. And then to come back to Uttamji's words, this brain drain and brain gain, I really oppose both these words because they have negative connotation. Because yes. Brain drain, that means whoever goes out, wow, that is, because that is the brain that went. So that means whoever is staying back, no one is paying attention. And then brain gain. So if you go out somehow, and then you come back, then nation considers it as gain. that also has negative connotation. I really do not like us to use that word. I would rather say brain chain. So no matter where you are, you connect. Like now, right now, we are in California, we are in Baltimore, Maryland, we are in Nepal, we are in Kathmandu, Surkhet, wherever. We just completed NRNA, NCC, USA National Knowledge Convention, where people from all over the world got together. We shared our ideas, we connected, we found ways to collaborate. So brain chain, CHAIN, that is what I would like to say. And then for Hemanta sir, we have big problem. We are, and Hemant sir said it very well. People go outside and they come home and then they are not honest. They try to somehow mislead people. We should not be doing that. And I for one, like I know this is we have not Nepali speaking people, but now I am proposing that even if it is hardcore CAR-T cancer immunotherapy, we should be able to talk in Nepali. We have to be proud in how we communicate, and language should not be a barrier. That is one thing. And we have to be objective. We have to deliver. And when Uttamji said that now friends have started asking questions, where is this brain gain center going? I'm one of them. I do not hesitate. I was one of the very excited person because I learned a lot. I came here to do PhD in biochemistry. I have worked 6 long years at Stanford University. I have worked with Nobel Prize laureates. I work as a faculty at UCSF, which is the leading medical university in the world. And I have learned a lot. So now I want to give back. So I was the first one of the first ones to enter my information. I wanted to give back, but I have not seen anything. So far, it is zero-sum game. I'm sorry to say that, Uttamji, but I hope someone will listen and someone will act, because 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, we will be talking about the same thing again. And let's hope that will not happen. We have to be innovative. Time has changed. Time has changed, and no matter we are in Nepal or the US, this COVID-19 had changed us. So we have to adapt ourselves. And because of this access to the communication and everything, I have seen a lot of young youth here. So I would like to speak directly that time has changed. We have to be innovative, and it is not brain gain or brain drain. It is brain chain. Let us get connected. There are so many ways that we can collaborate and we can proceed. Thank you so much.
Definitely, Tara sir. Thank you. By the way, congratulations on leading that mega knowledge convention event. I think you are the paragon of our dreams on what to accomplish and how to share. That was a powerful convention. I was accorded that opportunity in 2018. That's where I was able to pitch this idea of community colleges and brain game center. And I have taken it positively because at least the government officials listened and started, and hopefully it will go to the textbook and people will start connecting and they will get advantage from the biotechnicians like you and the scientists like you, and there will be industry. Hopefully there will be more energy and enthusiasm around this idea. And you are, I think I really love the way that you reframed it into brain chain. There are multiple terminologies used here, including brain circulation. I had that disclaimer that I don't buy the literal meaning of these words. But again, because these words are in literature and these are in the public narrative, I just wanted to keep it easy. But that is awesome. Thank you. Can't agree with you anymore.
We have many people interested to ask you a question, Dr. Gauli. Some questions are in chat box, some are raising hands. We might have to actually request the participants to ask a question in short, so that we can save some time. We might have to extend like maybe 10 or 15 15 minutes more, if you don't mind. It's perks of working on weekend. So I'd go to the question directly now. This question is coming from Joni Mainali, FAN General Secretary. What does the Brain Gain Center do? How does it utilize the gained brains? Why is the center situated at Ministry of Foreign Affairs? Wouldn't it be more efficient to have it situated outside MOFA, having MOFA only as a liaison institution? That's the question for you, Dr. Gauli.
I think, yeah, that is the best question, and I don't have the answer. Thank you, Johnny G. As a General Secretary of this association, you asked a great question. And we also feel that MOFA is really busy with a lot going on in Nepal at this point. And that's why the center has been not kept running for times, been slow, not upgraded, and the capacity building. I don't believe there is no capacity, there is no capability, but because of the negligence, it's been a little embarrassing at this point. But the hope is that I know Minister Gyawali is very serious about it. He talks about whenever I have met with him, he is very serious about it. And I hope this message will be conveyed to him. First of all, congratulatory message, and then also asking him to set aside some resources. Because I talked to the technician, actually the computer engineer who I worked with to develop the prototype for this. And he is also, not empowered with the resources that he needs. I gave my own credit card at some point to make it functional. But, I'm just another person, and I shouldn't have said that here. I'm sorry. But, some resource, some energy, some attention definitely needs. And I think the Nepali diaspora is a big asset. It's a growing asset. I think the government of Nepal should start a separate ministry of diaspora resources. I think that's what you prompted, Johnny G. Great vision. I appreciate that. It should not be confined within a unit given to a part-time employee. It doesn't work that way. And thinking that we just open the doors and it is out there. No, a lot needs to be done for the warming of hearts. It's not just the opening of doors, but warming of hearts, making the connection. So those kinds of people, the trained people who have that kind of aptitude should be there, like you, Rashmi, who has the ability and charisma to connect with people and make people feel welcome, recognized, promoted. That's something not happening at this point. It's like looks like somebody is playing favorites or whatever, and they're doing at their whims. But this is, I think, just sheer negligence. I'm sorry to say that. With good intentions.
No problem, Dr. Gauli. Now we have our valued member, Dr. Man. He also represents the government of Nepal. Dr. Man, could you please unmute yourself and put your question? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Rashmi ji. And also, I would like to thank Fulbright Association bringing this very important discussion. It is my second time with Gauli ji. We discussed on other topics few days ago, and it is very nice presentation today. And it is also timely that we are under pandemic and economic recession, and wherever we are thinking about resilience Nepal and prosperous Nepal. So I think it is very timely. I'm just thinking of three things. One is a concept that I shared a few years ago, whether that is relevant or not, and two queries. The first concept is when a few years back, I was a Director General for Labor Department. At that time, there was a global seminar on migration. then I put an concept that once our hands and brains are gone abroad to use their brains and hands, then why don't we make a mechanism to compensate through some sort of mechanism, that may be through the royalty, the loss the sending country loses due to sending those hands and brains outside the country, and calculating the GDP gain that the receiving country has grown. So like a carbon trade, I proposed a mechanism to build the global mechanism to compensate through that one. That in fact later on I transferred to another ministry, and I don't know it has been gone up. I think that sort of mechanism may also compensate to the sending countries if we cannot get back all those hands and brains. Whether that is relevant is still today or not, I just want to think on that with Goli and other friends. My two queries are: one is whether the country's environment is in such a stage that the country can welcome all those brains in the country. Whether such brains find it a congenial environment in the country. Is the environment welcoming for those, and how is the assessment from outside, the Goli and other friends from outside, whether they find it congenial environment. The second is it possible that the professionals who grew their professional career in the advanced countries like America, Europe, and they came back to the country in Nepal and worked with that limited resources and limited scope, whether they can adjust themselves professionally and can sacrifice that thing. I just want to
Yeah, those are very, very important questions, Dr. BK. It was a great pleasure working with you towards establishment of Dalit University. Also, we talked about skills. These things are all related. And I agree with you that it would be great to enforce the idea that you conjectured, but I don't think those are enforceable ideas. That's why we need to be creative. So we need to start warming the hearts and also let our young people connect with the successful professionals so that they get the inspiration and they get the idea of entrepreneurship. And when they start an initiative, they invite a successful diaspora scholar from a developed country to serve in their advisory board, for example. So those are some of the things that are already happening. And also one way to put it is, for example, the people of Nepal have made a very special identity in the United States, for example. So the benefit of that is that this richest country on earth now knows Nepal by looking at our face. So recently, $500 million has been offered as a gift for the infrastructure development of Nepal. And it's because of the identity, because of the social capital that these people earned as the friends of America. So these are some of the direct, indirect implications. So the knowledge that they earn, the brain that they gain, actually everybody when leaves the country, they are challenged with new questions and they learn. Even one American going to Nepal will be enlightened because they come to see some of the things that are working in a different way. So it works both ways. So it's a win-win. Again, it's not one way America giving Nepal, nor is it Nepal always at loss. So we have to be creative to find the win-win solution, and that's what we are talking about at this point. And there are ways to do so. And this pandemic actually has made it very, very clear what is possible, what is not. So I think we have to get real and keep these conversations going. I think those are very good questions. Let's keep thinking. Thank you. I appreciate that thought.
Thank you. Now we have another question from Boman Gimire. He has put his question in the chat box. What threat do you see from the tendency of the brain dry among the able, energetic, and enthusiastic scholars in Nepal in academic disruption in the country? Very interesting question.
Simply put, there is tremendous energy, motivation, and muscle in Nepal that can be catalyzed by conversations like these. So I think we should maintain these platforms and connect people to the successful diaspora professionals so that they can challenge each other, they can support each other in multiple ways. So that the energy and enthusiasm and the smartness of Nepali young people is proven worldwide, because Nepali young people are building the world. They are constructing all the developing countries. And now it is proven that they can construct, they can develop their own country. It's now high time they do it. And nothing can stop us from that thing happening. All we need, I believe, is connection.
That is a great optimism, and thank you very much. We have another question from Professor Basudev Kafle. The developed countries have benefited more from brain gains than the developing ones. How would you revert this situation?
Yeah, that is the very heart of the conversation here. I really appreciate my revered Professor Dr. Kafle. Thank you so much for being here. I have watched many of your interviews, and the way the grace that you bring in answering questions, I'm struggling with that one right now, but I know you have the answer. You have the answer, and that's what we are struggling to find right here. So yes, I agree. And again, we have a right to ask for help from the friendly countries. In one of my articles, I argued that Nepal has some share in America's prosperity, because the people who grew up in Nepal have gone on to, many leading positions here, from scientists to the professors to other professionals in robotics, to Google, to Facebook, all kinds of companies, and they're paying taxes and they're making connections, and they have not forgotten their homeland. I think that is the asset that we are trying to tap into, and I think we should never cease to forget that. And I think the intellectuals in Nepal can do one thing: do not vilify people who leave the country, because that backfires. So I think it's time to recognize, rather than vilifying, like the bhasyaka manche, videshi nagrikta, adi itadi kuraharu, those are, I don't think they are helpful. And that kind of narrative sells well. I think the nationalistic thinking is going a little ultra back home, which is not good, because we have to accept the reality. And intellectuals can be that conduit. But that's what I am trying to be, right? And it is 1:50 a.m. and I'm talking to you, and this is the love for my country, and you are asking questions, and I salute you for that, because this is the connection, this is the affinity, and that's what will give us the inspiration and drive to build our country. I hope I.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I agree.
Thank you, Dr. Kafle and Dr. Gauli. Wonderful. The connection is the core. And now we have another question from Geeta Dahal. Dr. Gauli, as you said, there is high appreciation and high effectiveness in the work of Nepalese who themselves are working there rather than of Nepalese who are in foreign land and foreigner themselves. So in this regard, how would you like to suggest those Nepalese students, youths, who are trying to build up their career in their own country to contribute in development of educational sector of Nepal and also the entrepreneurship?
I really appreciate that question. I think that question coming from a young person is a great sign of forward thinking. So keep asking those questions. Those are the right questions. So as I mentioned earlier, in today's world, it's not the geography, it's not the content of your knowledge, it's the connection. So keep asking those questions. Think who you want to be when you grow up and email that person and ask them for 5 minutes to talk with them. Get inspired. They will be happy to connect with you. It doesn't even have to be a Nepali person. Like you asked a very well-framed question in the English language. You can contact anyone in the world. But there are Nepali brothers and sisters for those who have the linguistic barrier. So that's the kind of mechanism that we're trying to prepare through the Brain Game Center, and multiple initiatives are coming out to assist that process. And that's not the only way, because again, you are right, the best positioned people are who are leading initiatives back home in Nepal, because they are on the ground. They know where the shoe pinches. So people from around the world should be able to share the knowledge that they have, like they help their brothers and sisters to accomplish that Mars mission in India. So share the ideas, but let the people who are on ground lead. So diaspora Nepali should not lead the projects in Nepal. They should facilitate, they should help, they should share the information and insights that they have. They should contribute some dollars if they have. That's how they should be helping, I believe.
Now we have Kapil Regmi. He has raised his hand. So could you please unmute yourself and put your question in short? Thank you.
Thank you, Rashmi ji. It is nice listening, Dr. Uttam. I work for HISAN, that's Higher Institutions and Secondary Schools Association, and I look for international relations. And my concern is bringing together the international network in the Nepalese context, and in the collaboration, how can we work together? And I really like the topic, though Dr. Tara, he has his own version, but still brain to brain again. That's really a nice topic for me. That's the reason I got interested, and since Dr. Uttam is also there. My concern is like, though you are working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but we don't feel that there is a good connection. Like if we need any Nepali experts working in the international community and they would like to come to Nepal or staying in other countries also, how can we work together? Since, as I already mentioned, I work in that international relations department. In the same way, like I am the director of Advanced College of Engineering and Management. Now I'm looking forward for the research head of a research and innovation unit, and I would like to hire one guy from Nepal who has been to abroad for his or her PhD. And how can I get connected? For that, that's really I feel a problem. In that case, maybe we could, if we could develop such a connections where we can have an easy access, that would really help. So maybe we should think of it, because if it, the government bureaucratic level, things are not easy. Rather than like if we need any job, we have to consult with Mero Job or giving advertisement for Himalayan Times or other different media. Rather than if I send an email and get some reply, get some resume, in that case it would be really helpful. And I think we should work in that line. That's what my concern is. Thank you.
That's a great question, Dr. Regmi. Thank you, and also congratulations on your leadership on HISAN. that is providing a critical component in Nepal's higher education. I really appreciate that. And you are right. I mentioned that Brain Gain Center is not a database. It is not a census. It is a platform where I have requested only those people to register who are now willing to give back. Not everybody is always ready to give back. So it's not a registry of all the doctors, all the engineers, all the blah, blah, blah. It is about those who are ready, because people in the foreign lands first come and struggle. They have to carve out their own identity. And they do not have time and energy to think about the homeland because they just left the homeland. So there are a lot of other people who are ready. And one person may be ready today and not ready tomorrow. That's why we designed in such a way, the prototype that I designed allows the person to turn it on or off or update their profile by themselves. So the idea again is, if the ministry just maintains that platform and lets it run, so it works by itself. So you just search by the keyword that you're looking for, maybe and by the expertise, for example, or maybe someone in Australia in biotechnology or whatever way you are looking. There are multiple ways to search. And you see the people that are then ready. So that is the idea. So we have requested people not to register if they are not ready. And not everybody has to be always ready, because nobody is obliged to anyone. It's a free world. It is the warming of heart. It is the love of the roots that we carry. And we have to be creative and gracious to establish that connection, and also find a way to make it a win-win. There are self-interested reasons also for people. For example, they are looking for new ideas. They are looking for new challenges. They are looking for new markets, for example. So it's not always one way. It is usually, most of the times, it is both ways. So you asking for help, actually you are helping the other person as well, because you are helping them connect. You are helping them find new hands for collaboration, because America is a country where there are more jobs than there are people. The skill gaps doesn't mean the same thing in America and Nepal. In Nepal, people do not have jobs, but here people do not have the right skills. There's a mismatch. But so there's always an opportunity for anyone from anywhere to contribute in the projects that they are interested in or they are capable of contributing to. And the beautiful thing you said, establishing international relationships, that's what I have been doing. I'm still appointed by my university, Midwestern University, as the Director of International Relationships. About half a dozen universities have signed MOUs, and joint projects are ongoing at this point. And we're always happy. There are 4,000, more than 4,000 higher learning institutions in this country, and they're always looking for partnership. They're always looking for new ideas, new challenges, new people to work with. So there's a lot of opportunity. So it's feel free, go boldly and ask straight.
So just
that is a win-win.
Here one more thing, that we connected with Israel. The Embassy of Israel has been kind to facilitate for the training program, and we did it for the school leaders of reputed and some government community schools also in the month of June. And from next week, we are again doing for the Hisan leaders and inviting all the leaders from Nepal. There will be about 40 members from Mashhad, that's Israel. So that way we can also do in a bigger level, since Dr. Uttam is working in that international relations. Maybe we'll find some platform to work together for a bigger benefit, bigger output.
Absolutely, absolutely. Star Scholars Network is all about that connection. And we look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. With this beautiful note, we might have to wrap up today's program. We have still some questions in the chat box. I think those questions can be answered by Dr. Gauli through email, or maybe you can do personal connection with him. So my apologies for that. So thank you so much, Dr. Gauli. If you have any final
I just
words.
saw someone. Oh, okay. You're giving me a chance. Sorry. I just saw Honorable Delegate Bandari joining us. I just wanted to say hello and welcome. Did you have any question, Delegate Bandari?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's yeah, my name is Harry Bandari. Thank you, Dr. Gauli, for being very kind and generous and helping both communities here in the United States and in Nepal. And as a delegate serving the state of Maryland in the General Assembly, I found that it's quite fitting that, you know, at the end of the day, it's about, you know, giving back to community. For example, this community has given me a tremendous opportunity. Every day I look how I can give back to the community. The community that gave us a tremendous opportunity. You know, in order to give back to the community, what I realized is, number one is instruction. Number two is engagement. Number three is inspirations. And this Fulbright scholars, this led by, you know, this program led by the United States government in partnership with more than 160 countries worldwide, that offers international educational and cultural exchange program for accomplished students, scholars like Dr. Gauli, and teachers, professionals of all background to study, teach, and pursue important research for humanity, for health and everything. I mean, that's how we can give back to the community. I think the reason what I said is quite fitting with the name brain gain, right? Brain gain is like both government. It's not sometimes what happens that, you know, there's a lot of good thing, glorification on paper, but in reality, we don't follow up. Hopefully, the government of both countries can recognize this, the power of Nepalese scholars, power of Nepalese doctors, power of so many Nepalese, over 300,000 Nepalese in different walk of life, and best utilize the knowledge. And thank you so much, and thank you Fulbright Scholarship for organizing this great program. If there is anything that I can do on behalf of our state government in the exchange program, I'm willing to do that. And thank you so much for joining here on this Zoom from all over the world. Thank you, Dr. Gauli, for whatever you have been doing, and thank you for your character, commitment, and confidence leading this thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Bandari. Thank you very much. With this, Dr. Gauli, if you have any few words, like final words, please feel free to share them.
Yes.
I'll wrap up.
Thank you, everybody. Delegate Bandari summarized this very well. And that's the beauty again. Look, Delegate Bandari comes from Parbat district of Nepal. So he is here, an elected official. So when there are international policies being made, when the assistance or some kind of collaboration is necessary for Nepal, he is now asked. And we have the voice in the American governance system. So America is not just another country, it's an idea, it's a big experiment of freedom. So that's why we have to engage with this country and take the benefit with grace and pride. This country, I believe, because so many Nepali people have enjoyed the freedom here, and they are always willing to give back to their country. And I definitely, again, would like to thank you, the Fulbright program. I hope I have done justice to every dollar you spent on my scholarship, as I'm trying to be useful to community here and back home, as Delegate Bandari explained. And thank you to Dr. Joshi for the leadership. Thank you, Rashmi for so gracefully moderating this platform today. And thank you to each of the very respectable people who shared your Saturday morning with me, some of you in the wee hours. I really appreciate this. And this says that we are really moving forward in the right direction. And I can't appreciate enough this opportunity accorded to me and for this platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Goli. Sijan Ji from US Embassy has conveyed his thank you from behalf of US Embassy for this excellent session. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you once again for your thought-provoking and intimate presentation, Dr. Goli. FAN is really grateful for your time and effort. As you suggested, we hope that our government will allocate sufficient resources and energy to create a platform for global diaspora to contribute to the development of homeland. The government will open doors with a warm heart, as you said. We also hope that the newly established Brain Gain Center come out of glitches and take a better direction. And we also wish that very best for STAR conference to be held in Kathmandu in the near future. And if we can collaborate in any way, please welcome us. Thank you once again. And thank you, valued participants and FAN team, for this wonderful opportunity. Have a good time.
Thank you.
Namaste. Have a great day. Have a wonderful evening. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.